Well, hey, friends, we're here to go over the work that you actually did yesterday. Okay, so using context clues. Um, if you notice up in that top left corner, it says "we do." So the way that I'm handling uh, the "we do" assignments is that you're going to complete them individually. So you're going to read each passage. You're going to make the best guess at what the answer is going to be. You're going to turn it in to me. And if you showed good effort and took your time to read through these, and your answers tend to be on track, and I can tell you didn't just guess and wing it, you're going to earn your credit. Okay, you're going to full credit, so you're going to earn 100% as long as you are putting in good effort. Once you turn it in, though, I'm going to take an opportunity to go back through these and read each one and then show you what the correct answer is and how I got that. So it's sort of a way for you to check your answers and hopefully get one more look at using context clues, because your next assignment's actually going to be a quiz, which is up in the top left corner. That one's going to say "you do," which I kind of treat as like mini quizzes. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to jump into this and we are going to practice context clues with the assignment you did yesterday. So, number one, while some scientists have discounted this study for relying on an oversimplified decision making process, these results have given other scientists hope. Perhaps in the future, scientists will be able to accurately predict the results of even more complicated decision making processes. In the meantime, the question looms: if our choices can be predicted before we even make them, then do we really have freedom to choose? Okay, so now what number one is asking us to do is, what is the meaning of the word discount as used in this passage? Okay, so just to simplify this a little bit, the only sentence that we are actually going to look at is the first one, the sentence that has discounted in. So when using context clues, remember, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look directly before that unknown word, in this case, the bolded discount, and then we're also going to look at the sentence or two after. In this particular case, we can actually get the answer just from looking at that first sentence. So let's read it one more time. So while scientists have discounted this study for relying on oversimplified decision-making process, these results have given other scientists hope. One word I'd like to point out to you, and I'm going to try to get my highlighter going here. There we go. This word "while." Okay, so this word "while," and there's other words that do this as well. Another word that just jumps to mind right away is the word "although." Although, while, and then there's going to be some other words that we'll go over as the semester goes on. But these are words that kind of signal that there's going to be an opposite meaning coming up, right? So while, that word kind of indicates that after the comma, it's going to give you the opposite meaning. Okay, so while some scientists have discounted this study for relying on oversimplified decision-making processes, comma, these results have given other scientists hope. So that word "while" signified that the opposite meaning of that word was going to be coming up, and the opposite is really hope. Okay, so if some scientists discounted the study, but on the flip side, it gave other scientists hope, I would say the opposite of discounted might mean that they didn't feel real good about it. They were not optimistic. They didn't think it was valid. Those are some things that I think discounted might mean, because discounted is going to mean the opposite of giving scientists hope. Okay, so let's look at our options. What is the meaning of the word discounted as used in this passage? Examine closely, rejected as invalid or unimportant, reduce the cost, or confused for something else. Just from looking at that first sentence, I don't think examine closely would be the opposite of the word hope. I just don't think that makes any sense. B, rejected as invalid or unimportant. I think that is absolutely the opposite of hope. If one group of scientists is very hopeful, but the opposite thinks that this information is invalid or unimportant, I think that very well could be the answer is B. So I'm not gonna mark it because I want to read through all of them, but I think B could work there. C, reduce the cost of. We haven't really talked at all about cost. Again, that first sentence, we did not mention money. We did not mention the cost of anything. So that one just doesn't even make any sense. So we're going to scratch that one. And then D is confused for something else. This one I think would be make a little bit more sense than C does, but still, I wouldn't say the opposite of hope is confused. Hope means like you're optimistic, you're excited about it, you think it is valid. The opposite, discounted, means that those scientists think it was invalid or unimportant. Okay, so it's using these words or the clues around that around that bolded word, in order to figure out what that word means. So that's number one. We have two more here. This one is actually going to be a 2 paragraphs of reading, but then we have 2 questions at the bottom, and that will be it. So let me go ahead and read this. Published in 1962, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring began a national debate that changed Americans' attitudes toward the environment. Carson, originally a marine biologist, had begun noticing the adverse effects of pesticides on various ecosystems. In her book, she documented the effects of DDT, a pesticide, that was then popular for agricultural use. In the environment, Carson noted the collapse of food chains and the decline of bird, fish, and other animal populations. In humans, effects of DDT include a higher risk of cancer and other illnesses. Next paragraph. The book's central claim that widespread pesticide use was the cause of significant harm to human health and to the environment was highly controversial. Conservationists, taking the book's message to heart, succeeded in banning the use of DDT in the United States in 1972. Others, however, pushed back against Carson's claims. Proponents of DDT usage pointed to the pesticide as a cost-effective means of controlling mosquito populations in parts of the world with high malaria rates. Still, Silent Spring ushered in an era of greater awareness, leading people to start thinking more carefully about the environmental impact of chemical products. Okay, a little bit lengthier there, but that's okay. What we got to do is figure out the meaning. So number 2 is, what is the meaning of the word proponents as used in this passage? Okay, so let's go back up and let's look at the sentence or two before proponents and then maybe the sentence after proponents and see if we can kind of narrow this down. So conservationists is where I'm going to start. Okay, I think that's 2 sentences before proponent. So conservationists, taking the book's message to heart, succeeded in banning the use of DDT in the United States in 1972. Others, however, pushed back against Carson's claims. Big word I want to point out. If you noticed above, I pointed out the word while as kind of signifying that an opposite was coming up. Another word I gave you was although. Another word that signifies that an opposite is coming up is the word however. Okay, so however means, you're going to talk about that's not what it means. When you see however, or if you see although, or while, either the opposite is coming up or that author is going to kind of change not opinions, but change what they're talking about or what their focus is, or give the other side, I guess, is really what I'm trying to say. So others, however, push back. So the first group we're talking about up here by my first highlight, conservationists were people that were very against and wanted to ban DDT, this chemical. Okay. Then it says others, however, pushed back against Carson's claims. So proponents, our bold word is going to be the opposite of the people who wanted to ban DDT. Okay, so let's keep reading on. Proponents of DDT usage pointed to the pesticide as a cost-effective means of controlling mosquito populations. So 2 clues. First, however, tells us that proponents were going to be the opposite of the people who were wanting to ban the use of DDT. And then if you read the sentence that proponents is actually in, it says that DDT usage pointed to pesticides as a cost-effective means of controlling mosquitoes. That means that these people are in support of DDT. So proponents to me means that these people are they are for DDT. They are in support of it. So let's look through our options for question 2. So A, does proponents mean people who oppose something? Oppose would be the opposite of proponents, actually, people against it. Remember we said that the proponent of DDT means that they are for it. They are supporters of it. Okay. B, people who argue the value of something. That seems a little closer to the correct answer, but let's keep reading on. C, people who have strong feelings about something. Or D, people who don't understand something. So if our answer is going to be the opposite of people who are against DDT, it's going to be, the answer is going to be proponent's going to mean somebody who supports it. So I'm going to go with B, people who argue the value of something is a proponent. Or in other words, they're people that support DDT. Okay, and let's finish up with this last bold word, which is ushered. Okay, so what is the, number 3, what is the meaning of the word ushered as used in this passage? Let's read the sentence before, or the words before ushered, and then we'll read to the end of this paragraph regarding ushered. So, still, silent spring ushered in an era of greater awareness, leading people to start thinking more carefully about the environmental impact of chemical products. So, ushered in. So, this whole passage that we've read talks about there's some people who, the author of this book is very against DDT, this chemical used for agriculture and farming and so forth. There are also people that were proponents, we said, which are people that support it. And then this passage kind of finishes up by saying, still, silent spring ushered in a greater awareness. So the fact that this book was written kind of brought about attention in regards to using chemicals for agriculture. So I'm going to guess, just kind of using all of this passage, that ushered in means kind of brought it to attention. So still, silent spring ushered in a greater awareness. Ushered, I would say, maybe is brought in or brought to light. That's what the context clues are kind of telling me. So let's look at the examples, or let's look at the options. A, introduced something or brought it about. That sounds really, really close to what I would guess it would mean. Remember we said brought about, or, as it says here, introduced, brought to light. So A is kind of the one I'm going to put in the back of my mind, but let's read the rest. B, occurred at the same time as something else. Doesn't seem to make sense there. Followed something is C, or D, blocked something. I don't think so. I am going with A, it introduced or brought it about. Before that book was written, it was not a topic of conversation. But after this was written, all of a sudden people came out who support it, people who came out who were against DDT. So I'm going to say that ushered in meant brought it about or introduced something. Hope this makes sense. As I've said before, we are going to continue to work on these context clues throughout this entire year. So if you're like, man, I still don't quite get it, we're going to put so much practice into this that, come April, May, you guys are going to do really, really well with these. So we're just getting started. So don't feel frustrated. We're going to continue to plug away at these as the semester goes. Have a good one, guys.